raises an issue that I think sums up both this woman's problem and the problem we all have, and that is that soapies and this sort of show is an attack on human dignity, because it's always dealing, yes, on human dignity. Not only people who've suffered like you've suffered, but even the people who watch them, their own human dignity is lowered because it's always dealing with muck, with the worst.
Hey, you take it all far too seriously. I mean, no. The thing is, look, if people seriously expect to learn about life, to learn about themselves from film and television, then we're all being terribly misled. Television is not in the business of philosophy and explaining what life is about.
The trouble is, they do, you see, we talk about it
in an entertainment context.
It's not entertaining for ordinary people. They start to identify with it. This lady and her...
But that's not the fault of television.
You're patronising ordinary people, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
You're assuming that they don't know the difference between fantasy and reality.
I'm ordinary.
But they're ordinary.
Can I give you one example? This lady, pangs of childbirth and so forth, and the unreal life about that, for instance. My daughter, who experiences real life, she's seen 3 of our children born. She knows what having a baby's about. She doesn't need to get it from television, and she doesn't need to get the distress story that some women have in a plastic way from television. It's better to be dealt with by real people, human beings, flesh and blood, around the kitchen table.
Diane was talking about the price, if you like, of fame, Natalie. She was saying one of the problems of what she went through with her kind of soap was the sudden fame, finding your photograph, your wedding photographs in magazines.
I guess it's a little bit different.
Is that difficult coping with that?
Me being interested in acting and knowing what to expect, to an extent, it was different. I knew what I was getting myself into, and it was a job, and I was working. It wasn't my life being thrown. Do you know what I mean? It was it was about my character, and I had a choice. So it has its difficulties for an actor getting used to that.
What are the difficulties?
Well, I moved from New South Wales to Melbourne at 16 into a flat on my own, had to kind of survive, and luckily I had the financial support because I was working, but I had to come to terms with, yes, everybody knowing who you are, and that's standard with an actor working on a soap. You get your taste of press the first interview you do. I think you realise that not everything you...
What are you looking around the corner? Tell me. I know.
Well, sometimes...
what did he do to you?
Things that you say...
He twisted your words, did he?
Well, it
did he twist your words? What did you twist the words for?
Never, no, but...
Did he?
No.
No.
Oh, God.
Wait a minute, don't cop out on me. Did he twist your words?
It's... I guess...
We got him here, he's in the dock, he can't move.
Stories can be stretched or changed, and you read it and you think, that's not what I meant, though. That's not what I was going to say.
You misinterpreted it.
That's what you realise. That's what you realise, and you just come to terms with that. You don't take the press so personally after a while, and you get used to how it works, and it's okay. But yeah, initially, you're taking it really seriously, and everything, you've asked questions, and you answer them in the truthful way that you think you should, and then you read it, and it's not quite.
There is also a problem, though, with them, especially in Aussie soaps, as young kids are literally plucked from their homes. I remember Natalie, the first interview, she'd come down from the Central Coast. The first time they're leaving home, it could be in a limo. I remember she was moving to Melbourne, away from her family. First time she'd be on a plane, she'd be sitting in a first-class seat. And they sit there, and you're asking questions, and the answers, she's young, she's just from the Central Coast, they're usually yes/no answers.
That's right.
And,
so
you have to develop a story.
What do you say?
Develop a story.
Well, basically, what David's saying is that he has to make a story out of yes and no answers. But I think that depends on people's experience. I was lucky when I first got into Home and Away. I'd done lots of films and lots of miniseries and lots of other things. People didn't know who I was, but I've been working since I was 8. It wasn't until I was 15 that I got into Home and Away, and that suddenly I was famous, and it was all sort of laid out. But I was lucky that I had that experience with a little bit of press, and I knew how to deal with it.
Some have no experience. Like Natalie, they can be young and fresh, and they're terrified. They're put in a car and they say, "This is a journalist," and it's
be careful
hard
what you say. Don't tell them anything that you don't want them to know, and you're terrified. So you just go, yes, no, I didn't have a boyfriend, no, and you get scared. So.
But I think there's a
there's an element there where people like yourself that came to something so young, I think there should be a handbook written.
That's
you know,
right. And you know,
because basically, I think the press are out there to sell magazines, and it doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter what.
Is there life? You can watch. I'm coming there. Is there life after, sir?
Well, I'm still alive.
Yes, there is.
Professional life.
Professionally, I've been working mostly. I left home and away about a year and a half ago, 2 years
What's you
ago.
having to? I love this. They slag off the press. Then she's looking at the press man to find out whether what she's saying is. You know when
But
you
I've
left.
been working. I've done guest shows on other shows. I've done a small part in a big Australian film. I've got a play coming up. I'm working, and I am lucky, I suppose.
Colette,
But I mean,
is it a problem being typecast, stereotyped, whatever?
Well, no, I played a sort of backward lesbian who got married in Prisoner, and I haven't been asked to play one of those since. But no, I left Prisoner 12 years ago now. I was a child when I was in it, and and I can honestly say that except for the birth of my 2 children, which were extremely painful, I actually have worked all the time, and I've done a lot of different things. So my choice is that had I not done the 4 years of Prisoner, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so that's what soap has done for me.
Did you put your children into soap, son?
No,
If at 14 they came to you and said, Mum, I want to do this?
No, I'd want them to go to finish school and to do a proper course
Would you
either at
put
night
yours
or
into
VCA
soaps?
first.
I only have one child, and she's a very happy parent. And she chose to work on the other side of the camera. She was much smarter.
Well, is there a problem in moving from soaps when you've been in them and you
Well, I didn't think
identify
so.
clearly? And
I didn't think
Yes?
so initially,
Why,
because
yes?
it was not a problem. After playing in Sons and Daughters for 3 years, I went straight into the theatre, where it's still accepted that you're an actress. But as far as television and film are concerned, it was death, because I was identified as this Pat the Rat character and was told that nobody would believe that I was anything else. Now, they believe it in the theatre. I played an Italian fishwife. I mean, but on television and film, the idea was that I was so identified with this character, I couldn't do anything else.
Well, I actually, just to come back right to the beginning, yes, there is life after soap, thank God. But it's like people, you have asked them into the living room, they do want to, they do associate with you, and that's what, I think you're right with the extended family, and there is choice.
Troy, is there? Where do you go when you leave a soap?
Well, I've just left Neighbours recently, last week, as a matter of fact, because I was worried about getting typecast. I was worried if I did stay in the show for 2-3 years, that I walked out and there would be sort of Neighbours tattooed to my forehead, and every producer and everyone that saw you instantly said, Neighbours. And so I felt that it'd be hard to get another job because, you know, you did have that upon you. But, yeah, there's definitely life after Neighbours, I think.
Plenty of jobs, Peter? Are there plenty of jobs always for the Peters of this world?
No, not always, no. You've got to be very careful, I think, when you do leave. Oh, certainly, when you do a soap, I think you've got to be very careful why you do it for good reasons. And
well, and thank you for telling us. Thank you all for coming along. Thank you. Well, that's the end of Kilroy Down Under, and indeed of the present series of Kilroy. But young people get the chance to air their views every weekday for 4 weeks on Kids On.